The following presentation is a production of Ride the Wave Media.
Step into the world of A is for Adversity, a podcast where we explore the journey of motherhood. Join us weekly as we navigate the intricate garden of self-discovery amidst the trials of motherhood. This is your space to nurture your identity and bloom. I'm your host, Jen Banks. Hey. If you're listening to this episode, that means I am currently writing a book. Oh, I hope it's going and that future Jen is just having a great old time. Again, my book is called Let Yourself Bloom, and it will be coming out in September. I am so excited. I am going to be going through a rebrand, and more details will follow. In today's episode, I wanted to do a little acrostic poem. It's been a while since I've done one of those, and I really love them. I'm a word nerd, and so I'm going to be going through the word identity, and each letter will correspond to an aspect of our identity. As you know, this season's theme is all about identity, and specifically helping moms maintain their identity throughout motherhood. I feel like it's so important to not even let your interests and your personality and all of those things go to the back burner for very long, if at all. You are an individual too, and your dreams, goals, and passions matter just as much as your children. And I know it takes a little bit more work and finagling to keep your interests and personality and identity alive throughout that time, but it's so important. Even if it goes a little dormant for a while, it's still there. And there are ways and seasons and times that we can nurture it, but it can be done throughout. It just may be more at times than others. So for identity, the I stands for individual. No one else has the exact same combination of interests and makeup and likes, dislikes, body size, fingerprints, all of those things. Your identity is you as an individual. It is so unique, and it's really cool that there's no two people exactly alike. There might be similarities, there might be a lot of commonalities. Even with twins, no two people are alike. So I love that we are so individual. It's really cool to be the only you on the world. D stands for dynamic. Your identity is dynamic. It's not static. It's always changing. We're always working on it. And while there are certain phases of life that you might focus more on your identity, like your adolescence, it's always changing. You can always be adapting and figuring out what makes you you and what you love. Our identities especially change after a big life event, after having a baby, after moving, after losing a job, or becoming a parent. So many things can alter your identity. E stands for everything about you. Everything about you is your identity. It's almost like your personal brand. Who you are, how you show up, what people think of when they're with you, how they feel, what you bring to the table. All of those things make up your identity. N stands for neutral. And what I mean by that is you're not better than another person and you're not worse than another person. We all have the exact same value, the exact same worth. We're not better or worse than another. That worth came with us when we were born. And again, it doesn't increase or decrease. We just are so valuable as humans, and everyone has that same value. No one is less than or better than. T stands for talents, skills, abilities, hobbies, all of those things that you find interesting and that you love or come naturally to you. That is part of your identity. And I'm so glad that all of us have different talents and interests and abilities, because that's why we need each other. We need the different perspectives and talents and the ways that people come so that we can work together. And how boring would it be if we were all exactly the same? It is fun now and then to find other people that have the same interests. But again, even within those interests, there is uniqueness. I stands for inherent lens versus derived lens. And your inherent lens is the way that you see yourself. It's the way that you look at your value and your self-worth. It's always the same, kind of like what I was talking about with neutrality. Your derived lens, though, is how you think other people see you. And it changes based on circumstance, who you're with, and what's going on. It's healthiest to stay in our inherent lens because we know our true worth and value and what makes us us. But other people put on judgment, or they have layers of expectations or assumptions. And when we are viewing ourselves through our derived lens, we might not see ourselves as worthy, or we might think that we should do something, or that causes guilt. To figure out how to use your inherent lens, a good way is to think about a time when you felt like you were on top of the world. You had it together. You felt like your truest self. A time for me was when I went to college. I felt like I could just portray myself, who I was, and I had a blank slate to work through. Other times in my life, I've gotten bogged down with who I'm with and what's going on and comparing myself, and that's not fun. It's much better and empowering to look at ourselves from our inherent lens, and the more we can do that, the more empowered we'll feel. And so if you notice yourself using your derived lens, just gently bring yourself back to your inherent lens. T is for tastes, preferences, and values. A lot of us have figured out our values and others have not. Once you know your values, you have a clearer picture of why you do the things that you do, what you are drawn to, what makes you tick, and all of those things. It's a good indicator of how to spend your time and resources and money, like we talked about last episode. This is even down to our flavor profiles and our sexual drive. These are all things that make us unique as well. And the last one, letter Y, stands for you. Your identity is you, both internally and externally. The things that are going inside your head, the things that are going on outside the world, what you look like, what your physical makeup is, the things that you have learned, your experiences, your unique perspective and take on the world. That makes you you. There's a quote that I love that says, love requires falling in love over and over again, hopefully with the same person. And this reminds me a lot of our identity. We are different people. We change all the time. And hopefully each time we fall in love again and again with ourselves. And it's tricky that we keep changing because hopefully our spouse is along for the ride if we have one. And if not, then we can move on from that relationship. But it's beautiful to see how you can grow yourself and see your spouse grow, and how you can see yourself grow together as a couple. I know that my husband and I are different people than when we first got married, and our relationship is different. It's better than that it was, I would say, but not that it was ever bad or different. It was just not the same as it is now. So that is my acrostic poem. I'll just go through them again one more time. I is for individual. D is for dynamic. E is for everything about you. N is for neutral. T is for talents. I is for inherent lens. T is for taste. And Y is for you. If you want, for your homework, you could write an acrostic poem of your name, like we've done in elementary school, I'm sure, many times. And you can write some things that make you you. Reflect on what things you like to do for self-care, what things you like to eat, what things you like to do outside, inside, ways you like to fill your cup or celebrate. All of those things are your identity. I encourage you as well to figure out your values. A good range is 3 to 5 values that you can recall often to guide your choices. There's many resources online to figure out your values. I like the Find Your Values deck on Amazon. It's a deck of cards that you can sort and figure out what words resonate. And there are many other ways too. Brene Brown has a list of 100 values from her book, Dare to Be. And yeah, have fun being you. I'm glad you're you, and I'm glad I'm me. And I will talk to you again next week. Bye. Thank you, as always, to Blaine from Ride the Wave Media for the executive production of this episode and all the episodes on A's for Adversity. Check out the other podcasts on Ride the Wave Media Network, and I will talk to you next week. Bye!